got changes to the Ardling, to the Goliath, and with the Dragonborn. Let's jump into that.
Yes, so we got great playtest feedback on the character origins UA that you and I have talked about in another video. And the feedback we got led to the revised versions of the Ardling and the Dragonborn that appear in this UA. Really, what it comes down to is we are focused the Ardling on being beast folk and have really leaned into sort of choosing the type of animal that you want your Ardling to look like, and that choice leads you to a selection of traits that reflect that. So, for instance,
and that's coming from the feedback. People just were like, they like the idea of the Ardlings. They just wanted to lean in harder into that.
And lean in harder to the animal side.
Yeah.
Because the great feedback we got is that we already have in the Aasimar a celestial descended person, and the Ardling was previously doing a bit too much. This was the feedback we got, and reading it, I agreed. We were. This is often something we have to grapple with as designers. We often, want to serve up all these dishes, and sometimes we pile too many ingredients into a particular dish. And really, with the Ardling, it was we don't need it to have as much of the celestial flavor because the game already has the Aasimar. Even though Ardlings are still associated with the upper planes, people wanted more of that animal flavor, and so that's what we've done. And you end up picking, are you a climber, a flyer, a racer, a swimmer, and this gives you a special trait. And you also get keen senses because of your connection to animals, and then a little bit of divine magic.
Yeah.
The Dragonborn revision is mostly all about the breath weapon.
Is this because Fizban's Treasury of Dragons was too good of a version of the Dragonborn?
It wasn't that. There were several factors going on. First off, there were people who were wondering what is the relationship of the universal Dragonborn, which is essentially the player's handbook Dragonborn is the universal Dragonborn. What is the relationship of that Dragonborn to the Dragonborn options in Fizban's? It's a great question. And as we talked about in another video, these Dragonborn options are meant to stand side by side with each other. You could choose the universal Dragonborn, or you can choose one of these more specialized versions. Because frankly, there can be different versions of these species that are tailored for different settings, a different focus, and we see that with the Dragonborn. So people really liked, we saw in the feedback, really liked what we had done with the breath weapon and Fizban's. And so it shouldn't be a surprise. What people are going to see is that the universal Dragonborn here has a breath weapon that is more now akin to what we did in Fizban's. Now, one of the things that it does that the Fizban's Dragonborn don't do is we let you choose, when you use this breath weapon, the area of effect. So you get to choose each time, is it a little cone or is it a line? We thought it would be cool to give you some flexibility because tactical realities change fairly frequently, and we wanted to let you determine in the moment what will be most tactically advantageous when you decide to unleash your dragon breath. The other thing that we added in is a new 5th level ability, which allows the player's handbook Dragonborn to fly for a short period of time. Because in a way it was always a bit of a gap in the Dragonborn of one of the main characteristics of
dragons is flying.
Chromatic and metallic dragons is flying. And so I was delighted to add this in for Dragonborn at 5th level.
Perfect.
Now, joining the Dragonborn and the Ardling is the Goliath.
Strangely on theme, the Goliath now.
We've actually pondered for quite some time the possibility of the Goliath joining the other species in the player's handbook. And there are a number of reasons for that. One of the biggies is that Goliaths are connected to giants in D&D, and D&D has very rich lore about giants, and just like with dragons, the various different types of giants.
Right.
But the big design opportunity that we had not until now really leaned into with the Goliaths is exploring what different types of Goliaths might be like. Because really the Goliath we've been publishing all these years is the stone giant variety.
Right.
And now this is our chance to explore Goliaths who are distantly related to fire giants, hill giants, storm giants, cloud giants, etc. And the Goliath also being included here is here also to fill a bit of an aesthetic gap, because we realized as we were looking at the options in the PH, we really had only one option if you wanted to. The character fantasy that you were going for was playing the sort of the burly figure, which you can make a member of any of the species burly if you want. Right. But when someone just looks at pictures, usually what their eye will go to for this character archetype is the orc. And we realized we needed a second option. Because for most of the choices, we give you more than one option. And this was the rare case where there was really only one in the player's handbook. Mm-hmm. And that puts too much sort of aesthetic pressure on that one choice. And so we thought that it would be good to have another option there to show that whatever the character archetype is that you're pursuing, you have several choices. And you don't feel funneled toward one thing. And that's in our minds when it comes to just about every area of the game when you're making a choice, whether it's feats, classes, or here digging into your character's origin. It's why in our classes, for instance, there is sometimes a little bit of functional overlap, say, between two classes, and they might even overlap a bit in terms of the character archetype that they represent, but then there's something about each of them that's unique, that allows you to occupy the archetype in different ways. Mm-hmm. And anytime we feel like, when it comes to a particular character archetype, we've really only in the player's handbook given you one option, we see that as an opportunity to create something else, so that you feel like you have an actual choice, mm-hmm. if that's the thing that you're drawn toward.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm excited for the additional giant options for Goliaths.
Yeah, so Goliaths are having a number of new options here. Anyone who wants to continue using the very beefy Stone's Endurance that Goliaths have had till now, it's still here, right. And it's associated with stone giants. Now there are other options, though, if you select one of the other giant types. We also, just as we have added a 5th level ability for Dragonborn, there's also now a 5th level ability for Goliaths. So just as we viewed no flight as being a bit of a gap, right. in Dragonborn, the gap we identified in Goliaths, who have always been associated as sort of distant relatives with giants, is they didn't have the ability to get large. and so we've now added in at 5th level for playtesters to try out and enjoy the ability to actually grow and get a little closer to the height of their distant giant kin.
I'm very excited for this.